Thank you very much. Now, welcome to the studio, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. I wish that we could start on some other notes rather than an MPP note. And, well, I'd like us to start, Mr. Fayamaking, on this note. You've seen the charge sheets that the police have prepared, the prosecution has prepared against Gregory Afoko, the brother of Paul Afoko, who has been put on trial. I just read some portions of the charge sheet and then we'll look at it. It says that the deceased, Adams Mahama, until his untimely death, was a contractor and the Upper East Regional Chairman of the New Patriotic Party. Is it New Patriotic Party or New Pathetic Party? The first suspect, Gregory Afoko, is a farmer and MPP youth activist and a younger brother to Mr. Paul Afoko, national chairman of the same party, while the second suspect, Asabik Alagi, is also a party member. During the early part of May 2015, Mr. Paul Afoko and Kwabena Ejapong, national chairman and general secretary respectively of the NPP, embarked on a tour. On the 14th day of May 2015, the national chairman and general secretary arrived in Bolgatanga. The deceased organized some thugs to violently attack them, scuttling the planned meeting at Azum Solom guest house for campaigning against the flag bearer. Campaigning against the flag bearer, Nana Adodankwa Akufo-Addo, and also for not notifying him, the chairman, who is now deceased. The situation was later brought under control by the police. The first suspect, that's Gregory Afoko, was not impressed with the action taken by the regional chairman and as a result had serious confrontations with the deceased until he was chased away by the thugs. Later, the first and second suspects mobilized some youth to form another group with the sole aim to protect party executives perceived to be against Nanado's bid. Note that again, party executives perceived to be against Nanado's bid. How does this happen in an opposition party that is interested in winning power? The suspects and other members had a series of meetings, and in the evening of 20th May 2015, two assailants, now identified as the first and second suspects, armed with a substance in a gallon suspected to be acid, laid ambush at the deceased residence. The deceased returned home around 11 p.m. in his pickup vehicle with registration 761-14, and immediately he parked the vehicle in front of his house. The suspect went close, signaled him to roll down the glass. The deceased identified the suspects to be his party members, rolled down the glass to talk to them. Suddenly, the suspect poured the substance suspected to be acid on his head, face and other parts of his body and fled on a motorbike. The deceased started screaming for help, and his wife, Hajia Zainabu Adams, came to the aid of the husband and managed to bring him out of the vehicle. In the process, he sustained burns on the right side of her chest. She also sustained burns on the right side of her chest and breast. The wife inquired to know what happened to him, and the deceased told her that it was the first and second suspects who poured the substance on him. So this is a confession statement, a dying, statement that is made by the chairman who is now deceased. The deceased, who could not withstand the pains, was still shouting and started removing his clothes. This attracted the attention of the neighbors, who took him to the Upper East Regional Hospital. The deceased repeatedly mentioned the names of the first and the second suspects. Note that he repeatedly mentioned the two names that are now in police grips. One supposed to be at large. Suspect as those who poured the substance on him, to neighbors and friends who came to his aid and rushed him to the hospital. While the deceased was being prepared to be airlifted to Accra for intensive care, he was pronounced dead. During investigations, the first suspect was arrested in his house And when asked to lead police to the house of the second suspect, he rather took them to the father's house. Police later located the house of the second suspect, but he had got wind of their presence and absconded with his wife, leaving behind their baby. A gallon which contained some of the substance and a plastic cup were retrieved at the scene for forensic examination. A gallon, okay, I've just read that part. Post-mortem examination was conducted on the body of the deceased, and the pathologist gave the cause of death as 1. Shock lungs. 2. Extensive acid burns. The investigation is still ongoing. It does give you an idea that the police are on top of their job on this one.
Well, first of all, I have a little problem with the charge sheet. I mean, the facts. Obviously, it cannot be stated as a fact that the deceased organized some attacks to attack the national chairman. And
but they say they were there. They were the ones who brought things under control on that day, on the 14th.
No, the facts that you just read.
Right.
It doesn't suggest so, and that's where I have my own little problem. You can allege so, but if you say you are very categorical, that's a problem. Now, broadly put, facts don't constitute evidence. At least it gives the judge an idea of the intention of prosecution. It also allows defense counsel to prepare. And those are preliminary matters. And sometimes a judge can be swayed depending on the facts to either grant bail or not. So at this stage, I believe that what is most important is to allow the police to continue with investigations. Of course, the issue is there shouldn't be ifs and buts, as our flag bearer said. We want them to proceed professionally and get to the bottom of the matter.
Okay. Let me quickly introduce Felix Kwakye-Ofosu, who is a Deputy Communications Minister. He just joined us. Thank you very much. Great. Haven't had you on the show in a long while, yeah? Right. Okay.
Just arresting an individual doesn't bring the matter to a finality. This is a murder charge, and we all know that in murder you follow certain procedures. The bill of indictment must be in place, and then it's a trial by jury, and eventually one must lead evidence of probative value, evidence beyond reasonable doubt that indeed Mr. Gregory Afoko conspired to commit that crime, or that he actually committed that offense. But let us agree that the attack on Chairman Adams was most unfortunate. Very, very heinous for somebody to suffer.
I was just picking your brief comments on the charge sheet as a lawyer, that looking at it, it's
not so far you've read the facts.
It does suggest, yes, it does suggest. It does suggest that what Nana Addo asked for yesterday, he may get, that justice for Chairman Adams.
Well, Nana Addo's statement was a reflection of what every Ghanaian wants done in a situation like this. So I don't want it to be like he as a person who wants justice, but all of us want justice.
Certainly.
And we want the security agencies, the justice system to be very proactive in dealing with this matter.
Right.
So I think they can come back and change the facts. Sometimes they want to rush and go and get.
It is your expectation that something in this ought to be changed?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Definitely, because on the issue of making a categorical statement, in defense can pick on some of these things, and I believe that when the police have a second look. At this stage, I don't think the AG is involved, because when the AG gets involved, we have more professionals there who have a better understanding of the law. So perhaps they can advise, withdraw the charge sheet, and advise appropriately.
Right. Yeah, what do you say about the charge sheet?
Yes, good morning. I was surprised to have read the facts, because sincerely, I don't even know the charges that have been made against this gentleman in particular.
He's been charged with conspiring to and committing the act of murder.
Right, that's interesting. And I noted a few points down. First, MPP youth activist and brother of MPP chairman. But before I continue, I would say that I'll be a bit more careful than I should have been, because the case is before court. Right. But I think that there are some facts which may not inure to the benefit of the state, because criminal trials is proved beyond reasonable that every particular fact on which you rely should be provable, and that duty is heavily imposed on the prosecution itself. So, and that is my worry, because these facts could have been stated without any linkage to the relationship of this gentleman to anybody else. More so, whatever events that had taken place prior to the day on which this particular crime was committed couldn't have formed part of this charge sheet, in my own view. And it opens up, but in any case, I was surprised that my learned friend is even complaining that these were not facts. It rather weakens the prosecution's case in your favor. So I think we could have avoided all this coloration and just state that this is the commission of a criminal offense against a person. The facts are ABC, which relate particularly to the occurrence of the event, and not any coloration, and then eventually the whole facts get jumbled up, and you realize that a very good lawyer will just pick them out one by one, and at the end of the day, I mean, it will be difficult for prosecution to prove. So I will be surprised if these facts will stay as they are now till the case, the whole proceedings come to an end. But my worry also
more important is the hearsay testimony given by the deceased, right?
Yes, but the opinion or the statement of a dying man carries a lot of weight in trials, especially in criminal trials such as this. But of course,
and the theory of res gestae,
yes,
contemporaneity, yes. Immediately it happens, yes. Something happens, and he's talking about this, and that will be considered as well.
Yes, that will be considered as well. That's a very important point. But my worry is also the issue about justice. Whose justice? And it's about when people say justice, they are just referring to the conviction of an accused person. But that accused person also has got rights. So if we don't take care, then we'll be talking about justice for the deceased, which, of course, everybody wants. But there should be justice for the accused person as well. Because you have to prove that this person before you has committed the offense, or he has confessed to it voluntarily. Otherwise, whether you get justice or not, first depends on the brief that is available to the prosecution.
Well, the people in that part of the country seem to be very firm in their minds that even aside what the police has said, they cannot think otherwise, that Gregory will be guilty. And you see, they have a prejudice. And the prejudice is based on the fact that he's an ex-convict, I think on a similar issue, and then he got pardoned, and then he left the shores of the country, just came up not too long ago or so, and then he finds himself in another situation. So because you have the tag of an ex-convict, they conclusively say, look, that's the guy who can have a mind to kill.
You see, that's another matter, especially where, as my friend said, there will be jury. You see, in recent times, there have been serious criticisms against the whole jury trial. And there is a case that I was just reading where one of the jurors went on the net, Facebook, to read about the background
Right.
of the accused person.
Right.
And then brought it to the attention of the other members. They based their ruling on it. It came out that this is what he had done. The gentleman is one Dr. Dallas, and he had to be convicted. So, especially now with technology and media, we have to be more careful. If it's a judge who is going to be the final arbiter in terms of sentencing and conviction, I wouldn't have problem with it, because I know that by their training and the judicial oath, they are not supposed to take these extraneous matters into consideration. Right. So let us look at the treatment of the accused person as well. And then this whole trial by indictment, you go before a court, which generally speaking is not a court of competent jurisdiction as far as trial of murder is concerned. You make an application for bail, and you are told that, well, I don't have the capacity to make the application for bail. Meanwhile, bail can be granted.
Okay, let's have a discussion of that later on. Anyway. Now, Kweku, specific to Nana Addo's, wish and prayer that the police have so far exhibited, a lot of professionalism in apprehending Gregory Afoko, and they have also, we are aware that they have arrested a few other people that they are interrogating. It does appear that the justice that is being sought will be gotten.
Well, hopefully. I'm not too sure about who and who has been arrested in addition to the first suspect. I'm not sure about that. I haven't heard the police confirm that. I've read newspaper reports to that effect. What I'm clearly aware of is that the second suspect is still on the run.
That's correct.
And he's a principal character in this unfolding saga.
Especially also because they found the remaining gallon of acid in his home.
And it is significant. I'll come to that subsequently. But some of the issues that have been raised, I am not too sure that it is time to ring the alarm bells relative to the charge sheet or what is happening in court. It's too early. Facts are facts. They may not incriminate. They could be raw, natural facts. Is the guy a member of the NPP up there? Is he an NPP youth activist or not? He is.
Yes.
So that's a fact. That fact means nothing relative to the crime as such. Okay, in terms of criminal trial and prosecution, but it's a fact. Is he a brother of Paul Afoko or not? That's a fact. You may not like the kind of perceptions it will fuel, but we are talking of court of law, where that in itself is not a basis to actually indict or pronounce a verdict against the person.
Right.
So the fact standing on its own is a fact. And if it's stated, I don't see how that potentially, in the court of law, not the court of public opinion, would affect the evidence that will be put out there, the advocacy and counter-advocacy that will take place in the courtroom. So I don't think I'm alarmed by those things. I can see the lawyers, they are very, very technical, very strict, very critical. But I'm just a layman out there, and I don't see how those attributes that have been put out there in the court of law necessarily would translate into a conviction of the accused or the suspect. Now, you see, the second accused, and this comes to the diseases the things he said before dying, which now the lawyers have made me understand has its own value.
That's correct.
Why is the second suspect still on the run? Where is he? See, I thought it was okay that he initially would vamoose because of the threat of mob justice, because of the anger that had been unleashed, and the fact that people, I'm even told his house got burnt. Was
either his or a house belonging to his one of his family.
So
has been
to
touched.
run off for starters is self-preservation first. That's the first principle.
No, you run to the police.
Yeah, but that's the point I'm making. That to run out of your house because you think a mob will come, it's the first thing to do, instinctively. Subsequent to that, you go to the police. That's the best place you can secure your life. That is safety, secured. So how many days gone since the crime? The fact that the deceased mentioned his name may have been a trigger for him to say, hey, anger, people will come and target me and do more instant justice. But now, where is he? Why is he running away? It doesn't help the case for his own self. Now those things, it's normal. I agree with Markin that everybody else wants justice. And justice means justice. The man was assassinated. I'm not sure those who went to do it. My own view is that it was an expression of fanaticism from below. I don't think they intended to kill. Their level, they were not too sure. They had gone to hurt. That's my own view. I may be wrong. But I don't think they thought this thing will result in death, which has now changed the dynamics. You see, whoever killed that man must be punished. In this case, the justice is not just for the suspect. This particular suspect, yes, he may not be the guilty one. So, to that extent. But we must search through the intelligence apparatus that we have, through the police apparatus that we have, and then eventually through the court system to punish the actual perpetrators. They exist. It wasn't some, angels or saints or devils from somewhere who came to kill, assault this man and kill him. Yes, so justice, the way Nana wants it, is what I think every Ghanaian wants. Same way the president also came in with his take. Right.
Felix, there are portions that are being pointed to in the facts of the case as presented by the prosecution as constituting stuff that was pretty unnecessary and may not be helpful in a situation where we are all expectant that justice will be done, and justice being done is that the perpetrators will be caught and dealt with according to law. Our court said in 1962 that a multitude of suspicions cannot constitute proof. So if you go line up what meetings had been held and everything else, you may not help your case.
For something, on that score, I agree substantially with my non-lawyer colleague on this matter. I'm not too sure whether the prosecution in this particular instance have highlighted those extraneous matters, if you want to refer to it as that, as the main ingredient of their case. Correct. They've only stated facts, which should not, under normal circumstances, create any difficulty at all. I also don't see how that weakens the case of the prosecution. I'm told that the lawyer for the accused raised objection to that aspect of the charge sheet, but the judge overruled it after considering all the arguments. So I don't think that any harm has been done. It is also important that we conduct ourselves in ways that do not prejudice this outcome. Yes, people have read political undertones into this. Emotions are high. And so it is natural that some commentary will respond. But in the commentary, it's very important that we do not make prejudicial statements. I've heard it said that the deceased mentioned names. Yet I'm not too sure whether that is the official account of the police. What I thought I heard was that the deceased wife told those who responded to her call that her husband had mentioned some names. I'm not a lawyer, but I do not believe that that in itself necessarily implicates anybody yet.
But what does the charge sheet? I'm sorry.
I'm saying that I've not.
But the charge sheet represents the police.
The police took statements from the deceased. Well, then that matter is cleared. So honestly, I think that we are on course. Again, evidence has existed for some time that the police have been doing the right thing. The right steps have been taken. They acted swiftly. They arrested this suspect in record time. They made it clear that there was another suspect that they are looking for. They proceeded to investigate further and found what they consider to be material evidence in this case. I think we should leave them to do their job. If you permit me, there was another aspect of Nanado's statement in relation to this. He made reference to the Kwanta South DC. I'm sure we will come to that. I'm not going to discuss the merits or demerits of his mentioning it, but just for purposes of public record, it is not accurate that investigation has stalled or no action has been seen in that particular instance. Indeed, when the incident occurred, and this is just for public information, about 13 suspects were rounded up by the police. A few days after that, lawyers for those suspects went to the Human Rights Court and succeeded in getting bail for a number of them. It resulted in a situation where 3 were remanded pending trial and the rest were given bail. So it is not as though nothing has been done by the state to investigate that particular matter.
What Nana asked is, what has happened after that, after the initial steps?
Of course, there's a known process through which these matters go. The same process that is being used in the Adams Mahama case is what is being used here. I'm sure if the police stumble on evidence that requires them to take a different course of action, they will do so. But there's no effort to stall it or drag one's feet in this particular matter. So that record must be set straight. Otherwise, the facts are straightforward. The police is doing the right thing, and we need to support them to get to the bottom of it.
I see.
Yeah.
Something just, my brother has introduced an important matter. He says that 3 are on remand. I don't know whether
yes, that's a briefing.
Yes. If perhaps he's able to tell us which courts they...
Yeah, in fact, I'm aware I can confirm what he said, because I have followed it up, even at the Human Rights Court as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
at least
that,
I know, pardon?
No, that's the issue of bail. That's okay. He says that as at now, 3 are still on remand.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is a briefing I have from the AG's department. Yeah.
Okay. I wanted perhaps if you have some further details.
But I'm sure in the coming days,
Well, some of them turn themselves up at the police station,
exactly.
at the police headquarters,
Yeah.
and then eventually their lawyer, in fact, Professor Tifa has been helping them a lot. He got bail for quite a number of them. I think what Nana perhaps was alluding to is that it hasn't received the publicity that this one has, and I think that the investigation and the stage at which they've reached have not been published.
But perhaps that is also because, unlike this one, where in the immediate aftermath, political meanings were read into it, I'm not sure as of now there has been any emergence of any evidence that suggests that the Nkwanta DC's murder or incident had anything to do with politics.
Let me just put him in perspective and let's get this out of the way. Yeah. He says, he said a few things about non-action properly by police sometimes. Then he says, but perhaps most important for us immediately is the need for the law enforcement agencies, that's Nanado, to bring a quick resolution to the despicable, act, a criminal act that took place in Bolgatanga a week ago. We note the professionalism so far displayed by them in their investigations. We expect them to continue to do so and not to be influenced in any way by political pressure or of any sort. I acknowledge and appreciate the sentiments expressed by the President of the Republic with the promise that justice will be done to Chairman Adams, and we intend to hold him to that promise. It is unfortunate but true that criminal activities with political undertones in this country have tended not to be resolved satisfactorily. The latest example of this is the shooting and killing of the Nkwanta South DCE some 6 months ago. It does not engender public confidence that up to today there has been no word on the investigations into the crime. We shall not be satisfied with anything less than the arrest and successful prosecution of the killers of Chairman Adams. There should be no there should be no ifs and buts. So put in perspective, one could actually say that the initial attack that was launched by your minister, Edward Omanebuama, on him was unfounded because he was speaking about information unavailability as far as the process regarding the Nkwanta South DC is concerned.
But sometimes if you've not sought the information, you cannot assume that the information does not exist. Secondly, it is legitimate to raise questions about the basis for even making reference to that particular incident, because it would appear at first glance that he was seeking to equalize, basically, because members of his own party have sought to politicize Adam Ahmed's murder. Because like I said before, no evidence exists as of now that that incident had any political motive whatsoever. Again, between that time and now, the 6 months that have elapsed, I'm sure there have been many incidents of murder around the country. So why didn't he make reference to any of those?
He was referring to politically.
But after that, where is the
murders
political
that have political undertones? This is a politician.
Samson, Yes,
He's
he's
a
a politician.
yes.
He's a politician. But I don't think that every murder of a politician has a political undertone. You can say that simply because he's a politician. In the instance of
But you heard accusations initially from a chief within the place who suggested that people connected to him are the ones
the initial speculation was that it has something to do with chieftaincy. Okay, but the chieftaincy dispute is a far cry from a political disagreement that would result in a death.
All right, so let's
clearly Nana Addo was out of place.
Let's come back to this. Let's come back to this.
Yes. Just a quick reaction. You see, Nana Addo was very clear that there's been no word. Obviously, if a DC is shot dead, the man is the head of security in that district. It is expected that government would assure the Ghanaian public that, look, steps are being taken.
Dr. Manibwama says, if you want information about this, go to the police. Simple.
I was sick.
Oh, come on.
Well, you see,
come on.
you see, let's get a bit more serious. Let's get a bit more serious. Sometimes it's okay to do politics, but it is also expected that you as a person just do some balancing act and keep your integrity at, above par. Why? If he suffers some injustice or something happens to him, he's in government, and government tells me that if you want to know something about this, go to police before you get that information. All that Addo was trying to say is that in the public, there is no such information. By the way, I just tried to push my brother to tell me specifically whether or not there is any trial ongoing. He said, well, his information, and I've been dealing with Felix for some time. When he's so sure, he goes with some full force. No. Because he's uncertain. Okay? He says,
that has been informed by the attorney general.
Why didn't they give?
No.
Why didn't you get all the details? Is there any trial at all? We know. As for that aspect of certain people being rounded up and eventually being...
Do you have information to the contrary about prosecution?
As it is today, there is no set trial of any person or group of persons linked to the murder of the Nkwanta Southeast.
In your practice as a lawyer, is this strange that 6 months after a murder suspect is remanded, trial has not commenced?
No, let's get the distinction right.
No, but just answer my question first. In your practice as a lawyer, is it strange? Is it unusual?
There is nobody on remand. They've not told us whether or not there's anybody on remand.
I just told you that there are 3 people on remand.
No.
It was a court that remanded them.
No. Okay. Let's understand that. Because you said certain people were rounded up and they've been granted bail. And then you are going further to say that you've been told that certain people are on remand.
Yeah.
Who are those people and where? And on remand on what basis? I mean, if you say you've remanded some, is it because...
I can confirm to you that 4 of the accused persons, 4 of them are on remand.
No more 3.
4 of them.
Yeah.
No more 3.
It doesn't matter.
I can confirm to you that 4 of them are on
how
remand.
does it change it?
Now,
you said
you say there has been no action.
No. My question really was, is it unusual for you? Is it unusual?
You see, it depends on the circumstance. It depends on the circumstance. You cannot just answer it directly. It depends on the circumstance. If the circumstance of the case is such that you feel that the police is not up and doing, then it becomes
Mr. Marking, finally, standard practice in our courts, 6 months after the arrest of people over a murder, is it unusual that trial is not begun? Standard practice in our courts. Answer yes or no.
Samson, I am unable to answer yes or no. Because you cannot say standard practice. What context are you?
There's really no problem.
You and I,
you are practicing.
No, I am a practitioner.
Okay.
I am a practitioner.
I equally practice in the courts.
Don't worry. I would answer. If you say,
I want us to move away and deal with
no. Standard practice.
Okay, let's hear
What do you mean by standard practice in our courts?
Well, I can also confirm that.
Can you answer directly the question I put to him? The standard practice in our courts. Is it unusual that a murder trial has not begun 6 months after charges are preferred?
Well, it's not unusual, but at the same time, you could see instances of the case being called, other proceedings being started before, at least from the district or magistrate court, then the proper proceedings commencing at the high court. But this one, the information that nothing is happening. I think it may also have been because there are still applications pending before the Human Rights Court. And I understand it was even called 3 days ago, and it had been adjourned because there was no one available to represent the Republic.
The Attorney General.
For whatever reason. So it may not be unusual, but at least because the rights of individuals are concerned, are involved, you have to then take the steps. So I think maybe if it becomes unduly, the prosecution unduly delay it will inure to the benefit of the accused.
The defense.
And then you file for that.
We understand that that case is actually up on the 10th of June. Yes.
Well, I just got a text from
Kenatefa, the one who is lawyer for about 3 of them.
Lawyer for 12.
For 12 of them.
13 accused persons.
Okay.
And that as at now, 8 have been granted bail. The rest are on remand.
Okay.
Yeah.
8 have been granted bail. The rest are on remand.
So you were misinformed by the
No,
okay, that's fine.
No,
that's fine.
I was not.
Now let's get into the MPP politics of the developments arising out of the death of Chairman Adams. A lot has happened in the course of the week. Statements have been issued left, right, center, until we got to Nana Addo doing what is supposed to be the final call yesterday, hopefully. But before we get to Nana Addo's own statement, is it surprising to you, Mr. Marking,
this morning,
yes,
one of leading questions,
that even the police, in their statements, are claiming that some of the leaders of the NPP went to Bolgatanga to campaign against Nana Addo, and that is what Chairman Adams was against?
I've already expressed my views on the charge sheet with respect to the facts as you read out. You see, I don't know the information that the police has. There are 2 things.
But you are familiar with Agenda 2020?
I'm not too familiar with Agenda 2020.
Okay.
I am familiar with Agenda 2016. That is to get the flag bearer to win. You see, for the police to be very categorical on 2 things. One, that the deceased organized some people to attack the chairman and the general secretary. And again, to say that the chairman and the general secretary were there to campaign against Nana Addo. All in this charge sheet, I have a little problem.
No,
okay, so you leave the police and let's move on.
But is that what the police are saying? Or they are saying that's what people are.
That's what people are.
That's what people are. Hold on.
Get the facts clear.
Hold on. You see, Samson, what you read out, the police is not alleging that in their charge sheet.
They're categorical statements.
They are very categorical. They are not saying that these are things that people are saying. If you, the facts as he read out to us, they are simply saying, well, these are facts. That is why I didn't want to respond to Uncle Kweku on the issue of facts are facts.
Yeah.
But
raw natural facts.
Correct.
But again,
get my drift. Let's move away from the police and deal with Agenda 2020, the suspicion within the MPP, which this facts from the police seek to confirm.
You see, Samson, don't trap me. Hold on. The police can't be right in being that categorical.
Okay.
All right? Because I don't believe in the existence of any such Agenda 2020. I don't believe in that. I believe that we have a leader, and 2016 is for us to win. Of course, there are disagreements on the way forward. Of course, in NPP, there are certain things that I would say, beliefs of certain people. Somebody wants somebody to be the leader. Another person wants somebody else to be the leader. What perhaps we've not been able to do as a party is the management of these views and the ego associated with how we conduct ourselves. Of course, that is perhaps what is affecting us.
And this is what has led to some of them, some of your members or leaders disrespecting Nana Addo. These are your words. You have said that some leaders don't respect Nana Addo.
You mean?
I can quote you directly if you want. You were on radio in the course of the weekend. You said
something, please. If you want to, if you want to quote me, perhaps quote me right. I have made certain statements about the general conduct of all of us as party members. And that statement I made was not out of place. Obviously, the conduct of certain people is not helping the cause of the party. And in other words, it doesn't demonstrate respect to the leader. I cited an example of my former General Secretary, Nono Hininto. I said that this man is an eloquent communicator. If you see the competence with which he analyzes issues, you would expect that this man will be in the forefront in leading the charge, helping the party's cause. However, my own problems I have with Nono Hininto is that I only hear his voice when we have internal issues coming up. After November or December, we never heard anything. There are times that party members, okay, you are supposed to be at TV3. You want TV3 to finish the program early so that you can go to Peace FM. Not only me, many of the communicators are complaining because you overstretched. You are supposed to be in your constituency, you have to come and sit here. Whereas there are people in the party who, for whatever reason, they've pulled back. They have complaints here and there. But when there's an internal matter, you hear their voices. Don't also forget that in 2008, after the Congress, one reason given by Mr. Chairman...
2007, I believe.
No, 2008, because we have 2007 elections. 2008. The reason given by Mr. Chairman in tendering in his resignation was that his supporters in the party were being harassed and all that. Why should that be? He himself had complained about the way people were treating him and all that. But I say that, broadly put, as a party, must we, allow some of these pettiness to override the general objective of the party in winning power? We should not. As politicians, we should be able to adjust. Look, NDC, they had worse situations. In 2006, when Chairman Rawlings, or President Rawlings, thought that Dr. Beda Semwa and co. did not help the cause of Professor Mills in 2004. And for that matter, they should kick them out. It was a big problem. Where Obeda Semwa, for over 8 hours, he could not even move out to go and urinate. Where Francis Essien was whipped, was beaten. Nobody talked about it, okay? Eventually, they managed to come out of this because they believed that, look, the 2008 elections was their main objective, to win power. MPP, so far, until yesterday, I didn't see ourselves dealing with those petty issues so well, forgetting about them and moving on. But I believe that now that Nana Addo has spoken, it will be a finality.
We'll get to Nana Addo, because I want us to treat that, give that a special treatment to close the discussion on this issue.
Very well. Now that he has spoken, I believe that it brings to a finality all those pettiness and somebody, because if you give everybody the chance, everybody will have a side of the story. But as politicians, must we be looking at these petty things? No.
Okay, Felix,
we have to look at the interest of the
understandably, why the NPP is at this point is because of this Agenda 2016-2020 divide.
I mean,
So
absolutely.
you think he has the competence to deal with this?
Please.
Or he knows more than
No, I think that. I think that.
Okay, continue.
Don't worry,
Is it-
don't worry.
Is it perhaps that is at the
Beyond
heart?
just the freedom of speech, in 2001, is it Avelifo case? Our courts made a pronouncement that you, the political parties, you are public property,
Sure.
Exactly.
and we have
Sure,
the
we
right
scrutinize.
to scrutinize you.
That's
Go
right.
on.
No, objective
Is it-
scrutiny.
Is it,
Objective
of course.
Okay.
Who
Hear him
determines
first, hear him
objectivity?
first.
Is it something? I mean, there is no doubt that at the very least, persons close to Nana-Addo believe in the existence of Agenda 2020. Indeed, the MPP's recent descent into chaos and violence and a general state of lawlessness, for me, is the direct result of a very spectacular failure in leadership. Because they've had this coming. Look, the last 1 year has been an annus horribilis for the MPP. Virtually every major decision that has been made in the party has resulted in some form of confrontation. And the leadership of the party cannot run away from that. The central matter is that there are those in the party who believe that Messrs. Afoko and Ejapon belong to a group within the party and are working tirelessly to ensure that Nana-Addo does not get elected as president of this country in 2016. That is essentially what this problem is about. Because
And why would they be
is
doing
it
that?
well, of course, people in any party have a right to be opposed to the candidacy of people within the party. So it is not a problem in itself.
From
It's
where
about
you
how,
sit,
yeah.
this is what I want to understand, and I want my listeners to
Okay.
be able to follow us properly. That what is your understanding of the Agenda 2020? What is it for?
Basically, the belief is that if Nana-Addo wins 2016, there's a likelihood that he may not want to contest again for private reasons. And so he may sponsor Dr. Baumia as a successor. And those who do not agree with Nana-Addo perceive that as an existential threat because they themselves have an eye on the presidency.
And
they
that
would-
will also kill
that would also
Alan
kill
Shermantin's
exactly,
vision.
and any other person who may emerge from that camp. That essentially for me
All right,
is the
go
issue.
on. Yeah.
As to whether or not it is real, it's another matter. But you see, like I said, these divisions have existed at least since 2007, and we all know that. Okay, in the run-up to the election of their national executives sometime early last year, we all saw the impediments that were put in the way of Messrs. Afoko and Mrs. Afoko and Ejapon. They were accused of all sorts of things. Mr. Afoko was accused of having engaged in some drug trade in the past.
He was almost disqualified.
Actually, it's a very spurious allegation. And if you notice carefully, the people who manage the process, mainly Nana-Addo supporters, handled the matter in a way that seemed to give credence to that allegation. In the end, it didn't become a stumbling block. He won. Irrespective of the fact that Mr. Afoko and Mr. Ejapon may not support Nana-Addo's bid, it was incumbent on Nana-Addo and the entire leadership of the party to work together, because at least that was a message that the delegates had sent them when they elected all of them to go and work together. But what has happened, especially after Nana-Addo's emergence as flag bearer, is that there's a certain pursuit of victor's justice. Those close to Nana-Addo believe that 94% that they got from the electorate gives them total dominance over affairs of the party. So they can hound out persons who are against Nana-Addo's bid and get away with it. So you see that every single thing that these
But
two
they should be able to legitimately do so when they find that there are people within them who are not promoting the Agenda 2016.
But something, you see, divisions in political parties are not unusual. People have a right not to believe in your agenda, but they have a duty to perform once they are elected as party officials. The challenge is for the leader, the ultimate beneficiary, Nana-Addo, to work with these people in a way that ensures that his vision of becoming president is realized. Instead of doing so, they have sought to hound out these individuals. So every single decision they take is met with suspicion. There has been an open attempt to undermine them. In the meantime, lawlessness and violence has taken place by persons who could have been called to order by Nana-Addo. That hasn't happened. They have waited for it to get to this point where we witness the death of a regional chairman under gruesome circumstances. Because, Samson, I do not recall any instance in the last 23 years or so, since we reverted back to democratic practice, where a party so degenerated. We are not talking about petty squabbles or disagreement over the direction of the party. If that were the case, I'm sure we will not lose sleep over it, because it happens all the time, almost on a daily basis in all political parties. But we are talking about deep-seated division that is leading to violence of the nature that we've seen.
Deep-seated division.
Yes,
that
but Samson, let me
self-denial.
Let me wrap up.
Yes.
Unfortunately, all those who could have zoomed in to rein in these warring elements, having one way or the other been compromised. President Akufo and Mr. Kojo, for instance, have been accused by senior NPP people of being behind this particular matter.
We'll deal with that on Nana Addo's statements.
Absolutely.
Because
so really, the NPP brought this upon themselves.
I see.
And they cannot make any excuses.
Very interesting. That's very hard to take.
Yeah.
Now, Kuku, obviously, Felix is speaking oblivious of what the posture of the leaders, those leaders that some of the people said to belong to Nana Addo are against. He says it's a failure of leadership on the part of Nana particularly to rally these people, these guys around. But there are also those who accuse these two gentlemen of a posture that doesn't suggest a willingness to cooperate and to work together.
You know something? Well, I'm not a member of the NPP, but my whole take is that in the wake of Akufo-Addo's press conference, really, I don't get the point in going back to discuss some of all those problems. We've discussed those problems, interrogated those issues many times on this platform. There's nothing I will say today that will not be repetitive of, you know. So I was thinking that the content, the trust of Akufo-Addo's submission, and of course, in addition, what President Akufo had put out, but more so Nana Akufo-Addo's, is pointing to the way forward. There are issues arising out of that. All this point about Agenda 2016, 2020, or Baumia, not Baumia, and question of Nana Addo's poor leader, all those things for me are immaterial. Predictably, I understand why the NDC communicators would over-personalize the problems in the NPP and heap it all on Nana Addo. He's their main challenger. He's the flag bearer of the main opposition party. They're going into a contest next year. And why not try as much as possible to bastardize that individual, pin him down. They've done that for years, though. They've done that since 1995, consistently. And I'm not surprised. It's predictable. It's to be expected.
Well, it's politics. If it has inured to their benefits, you expect that they will continue to hit where you know it hurts.
One day, we shall see whether it is in the larger national interest to do politics in that crude manner, when even you have no evidence to back the crudity. We shall see whether that's the best option.
We had a period of a daily dose of Rawlings.
On what? I
on all sorts of things.
I deal with specifics.
Okay. Okay, so move on. You move on.
So that we can look at the specifics. The specifics against Nana Addo, drug addiction, drug peddling. Those are all false. And we all know that. The attempts to criminalize, to assassinate his character. So we can deal with specifics when it comes to Jerry Rawlings as well. And I'm ready and willing to do so, I'm sure, on another platform or another occasion.
The leadership style of the two gentlemen.
Of Nana Addo and Rawlings?
No, I'm talking about Paul Afoko and Kwabena Japan.
See, I have expressed, that is why I said I would repeat myself. And Felix made a certain statement, which was interesting, about people thinking that a 94% that the candidate, the flag bearer, attained was such that they had the basis now to go out there and do anything. I also think the other side of the coin was that those who were elected in Tamale, especially the chairman and the general secretary, also did not calculate carefully what their victory amounted to. Some people overrated that too. And that also informed certain initial decisions that were taken that did not come along with consensus, so that they were reversed.
You're referring to when they immediately took over office and began to sack the non-elected officers?
So many things, those decisions, even if they were well-intended, were not done with consensus building as the backdrop. And so it backfired and created all sorts of problems. So a certain environment of mistrust and suspicions was created. And that has informed many things going on. I think that it's about time. And that is why I said the main thing today, I thought, would have proceeded to deal with the Akufo-Addo press conference, because it's the climax of all these things, many of which we have said over and over again. And that's where my emphasis is.
Okay.
I have certain things to say.
So maybe you stop there briefly. Now, like Felix said, Kwaku admits that these problems have started for a while now, and the mistrust began at a certain point. He's saying that Nana Addo, as the leader, ought to have been able to bring them together up to this point, would have avoided all of this trouble that the MPP is getting into, and it's making itself unattractive to the non-traditional voter for that party.
Well, I think there's some sense in it, but I would like to look at even the importance of political parties. You made reference to it in your intro. At least Article 55.3 states, subject to provisions of this article, a political party is free to participate in the shaping of political will of the people, disseminate information on political ideas, social and economic programs of a national character, and sponsor candidates for election to any public office, either than to district assemblies or lower local government units. My point, and is also to highlight what Kwaku said, I think that we have bloated the importance of political parties in this country. Because I continue to make the point. I don't go to the polls and vote for a political party. I vote for an individual to become president and vest my property, the tax, the assets of the state in that person. So I would rather look at the competence, the track record, the discipline, and all that of that particular person. Political parties, even though sometimes we say is a public institution, but seriously speaking, it is a voluntary organization. People can join, pay their dues, and all they do is to sponsor someone to form a government. No NDC, MPP, whatever P have never formed a government in this country, at least by law. So let us look at these individuals concerned. Again, I think too much pressure is being put on Nana as if he should also sidestep the institutional framework that is contained in the MPP's own constitution. What else can he do? Because there is a chairman. Of course, in their own wisdom, they said in this situation, Nana Akufo-Addo is the leader of the party. That's right.
It's not legally defined.
Yes, it's
just
even,
a moral thing.
Yes. And even like, so what can he do? There are structures from the lowest level, and fortunately for them, they have spread, if you like, their tentacles even to the police station level. And look, beyond Accra, you don't hear any of these things. You don't hear it. If I were Nana, I would just hit the ground running, contain whatever is in Accra, and let the executive deal with those problems, so-called, because I think it was said that it's better to be a polling agent in a party which has sponsored someone to be in power than to be a general secretary in opposition. So why will anybody be more interested in the party remaining in opposition for maybe the next 8 years? It doesn't really appeal to me. But I think that allusion were also made to the fact that when they came, the two gentlemen, they made some moves. I think this thing may also have to do with finances. Who controls the logistics? First, you remember I think the Director of Finance was touched. Then Mr. Japon said that the focus of this party now is about sacrifices and voluntarism. So days before the flag-bearer election, he said that only those who were in need of monies will be given money to go and vote and all that. Then Nana Addo, we were told, organize some money and gave to these people. Then over time, just 2 days ago, some loan that were taken from a bank also came up. And if you look at the caption in that newspaper, which has been described as not sympathetic to the cause of MPP, you will see that the control of logistics, and I've heard the General Secretary say that the campaign will be managed by the party, not by the flag bearer. So I think that in this is the so-called turf war. It's all about who should control logistics, and for me, in most cases, cash. And this is not peculiar to the MPP. You remember the statement that is attributed to Yabuatinjan, saying that he was attributing his failure to be re-elected to the fact that the former chief of staff starved him of cash. And that may have attributed to the rank and file.
With the greatest of respect to you, Samson, with your permission, let me correct. That's not what he said. He said that some people had alleged.
Well, I said it's attributed to him.
No, some people had alleged that he had taken receipt of some cash, which he denies anyway, but did not disburse it.
He didn't blame
the chief of staff.
Okay.
He said that people had alleged that he had taken money, but
but I think I heard something.
That's what he said. He said the chief of staff did not come to his aid to defend him. When the allegations
he said that in the run-up to the election, the chief of staff had alleged certain payments meant for the police station agent were in his custody, and he failed.
That's not what he said.
That's what he said.
In dealing with this matter, how the next campaign will be organized by the MPP, especially the control of logistics, should be the focus of whoever are interested in resolving this matter. Otherwise, because you see, I mean, campaigns worldwide, usually it is the flag bearer who is able to attract substantial part of these funds, apart from what the party members pay and so on. So they should look at that aspect.
To contribute directly to the flag bearer for obvious reasons.
Oh yes, of course. So let those who are concerned look at that particular concern, because I'm saying that all the talk aside, if practical steps are not taken, and especially in relation to funds and logistics, I'm afraid if they are not careful, 79 may repeat itself.
Okay, we'll take a quick break at this point, and I would like to just quote what the Yabuatinjan is reported to have said, whether or not is the headlines the media gave it that changed the situation. He said, "They peddled falsehood about me, lying to the delegates that I had received the money for the NDC agent for the registration exercise. I personally went to Prosper Bani to call the regional ministers to inform them about the facts which were to be diffused down to our people. But he, that is Bani, failed to do that." So, in effect, because because he should come and say that he had given the money, he should come and tell the truth about 6 months.
What was the chief of staff's role? The chief of staff,
we'll take a break here. We'll be right back.
Why would he go to the rule?
You're welcome back to Newsfile, your most authoritative news analysis show. Is brought to you by Bank of Africa, strong as a group, close as a partner. MTN, welcome to the new world. Sasso Spray, fresh and powerful. Star Assurance, that's creating smiles since 1985. And you're celebrating 30 years of solid partnership with you. Lipton Tea, the #1 tea brand in the world. Young Vita, that's the delicious way to grow. Across the length and breadth of Ghana, more and more people are engaging in selfless acts that are brightening lives and making the world a better place to live. These agents of change are heroes of change, deserve recognition for their selfless acts of humanity. Nominate your hero to be part of the MTN Heroes of Change. Visit www.mtnheroes.mtn.com.gh for details, or pick up nomination forms from any MTN service center near you. Fill it and submit the same at the MTN service center. You can also write a letter of not more than 2 pages nominating your hero and stating why your nominee deserves to be recognized as MTN Hero of Change, and send to MTN Heroes of Change, P.O. Box 80179 at Chimota, Accra. So go on, nominate your hero of change today, and let's all say welcome to the new world. The deadline for submissions is Friday, the 16th of June. Note that Friday, the 16th of June, 2012. MTN, everywhere you go. And Star Assurance, they make sure that you're smiling when you walk into their offices and ask for a motor and travel policy. That's what Star Assurance will do to you. They make sure that they brighten your smile and your look and make sure that your journey is always safe for you all over the world. And when you walk in for your homeowners, contractors, all risks, fire and allied perils insurance policy, what they do for you is to make sure that you feel like such dangers don't exist at all. So what else do you want? Contact Star Assurance and let go and let them make sure that you are protected. Log on to www.starassurance.com or visit any of their offices nationwide. You can call them on 030-224-0632 and enjoy solid insurance policies all year round. Star Assurance, that's your solid partner. Sasso Spray has a very unique scent when you put it in your room. It's smokeless, and then it leaves a lemon fragrance in your room till the next day. That's the coil. That's what it does. And Sasso Coil and Spray is free from catarrh and headaches and chest infections. So insist on Sasso Coil or Spray whenever you want to buy any of the insecticides that you're looking for. Also, for all your alternative solar power needs, Sunshine Solar System is your one-stop choice. There is no need to order your solar panels and solar generators from America, Europe, or China. No need to wait 3 months for your supplies anymore. Just contact Sunshine Solar Systems for your solar panels, solar generators, and all other solar equipment at wholesale prices. The quality of the products speak volumes, and your clients will only keep coming back to you. Retailers, take advantage of this great opportunity. Contact Sunshine Solar Systems on 024-6767-676. That's 024-6767-676 or 0244-1059-60. Or visit their offices at North Kaneshi, Awudome Runabout, opposite the Kwame Nkrumah Flats. Thank you very much. Now I've got some messages that you have sent in. This is Tick in Kumasi. Says, Samson, it is time the NPP leadership realize that none of them is going to escape unhurt from the embarrassing drama and seeming chaos reigning in the party. I hope Nana Addo's statement heralds the start of a process of bridge building and genuine rapprochement to stem the creeping takeover of the party by extremists and hardliners. Oliver Bamba in Salaga says this unifying speech by Nana Addo should touch the inner core feeling of the rank and file of the NPP, allow space to prevail in the party, and humble themselves for victory that awaits them in 2016. Musa Abatua in Kumasi, assuming the brother of Paul Afoko is convicted and sentenced, will that affect Afoko's chairmanship? Nana Addo has failed to show leadership in the small group like NPP. How can he be a good leader when given the opportunity to lead this country? Akwesi Champong in Maryland says Mr. Afoko's attempt to clear his brother's name when he was first mentioned did not help the matter. What if Gregory is proving in the end to have been the actively involved? What action will the party take? Ibrahim Kopa Tamale says, prior to the death of the Nkwanta South DCE, the foot soldiers in the area had several demonstrations and countless warning on the DCE. As a result, going by the sequence of events that led to the death of the DCE, from a reasonable viewpoint, one can conclude that death of the DCE was directly linked to internal politics in the NDC. And on that note, actually, a good friend of mine is saying that we should not lose sight of the fact that the police's intention of giving us those accounts leading to the up to the point of the death could be to show an intention to cause grievous bodily harm. So all of those things will come. So maybe the police just know exactly what they are doing, And so we should stop criticizing their statement and saying that they unnecessarily brought in some political stuff in there, which was not necessary. In fact, most of you who are sending messages also through Facebook, you are criticizing the police for unnecessarily stating those facts. Gideon Buako says, what interest was the prosecutor seeking with all the political coloration and drawing of consanguinity issues in the charge sheet on the matter alleged? They think that all of that was not necessary. There is Aziz, who says that there was a lot of peace within the NPP under Addo Boaheng. What has happened? So it boils down to who is leading them at this point in time. Now, let's listen briefly to Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and then we'll come to wrap up on this segment of the discussion.
Having heard so many people, my first call on all party members and supporters is to cease fire. The finger pointing, the name calling, the insults, the lies, the denigrating of past and current leaders must stop. They are to be roundly condemned. His Excellency John Agyekum Kufuor, second President of the Fourth Republic, remains an icon of our party and nation, whose legacy we in the MPP must jealously guard. There is absolutely nothing to be gained from internal recriminations within the MPP except to provide fertile soil for our opponents. It is unseemly and disrespectful towards the memory of Chairman Adams that such loud noises should continue within the party whilst we're still in the official mourning period. A certain amount of outburst induced by the tragedy is understandable because of the extreme nature of the tragedy. But that should not mean that MPP members should behave out of character. Now that many sections of the party have spoken and made their appeals, the party structures should take over and deal with the issues that have been raised. Meetings of the National Executive Committee, the body charged with responsibility for directing the affairs of the party, and then the National Council, the highest decision-making body of the party, except for the National Annual Delegates Conference, should be convened after the Adua prayers to resolve the issues that we face. I am confident that these bodies will act in the collective interest of the party. Whilst we continue with the period of mourning for Chairman Adams, and until the party's governing bodies meet, I ask that we normalize things within our party. This means, for instance, that the officers of the party, the national chairman and the general secretary in particular, must have access to their offices at party headquarters and not be hindered in any way from being able to conduct their duties. The MPP way of doing things is to be guided by law and order, and I ask that normalcy return to our headquarters and party offices. I ask that we extend mutual respect to each other and we listen to each other. I will not tolerate chaos within our party. The recriminations against ourselves in this period of healing, I repeat, must stop.
All right, thank you very much. And Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo spoke just yesterday, and he called for ceasefire. There are aspects of portions of his statement we'll be reading also in the course of the discussion. But see, so this is where everything has come to. Does it mean that the regional chairman all around, or the regional executives who had come together and called on the two that's Afoko and Japan, to step aside? Does it mean that the parliamentary group that also asked that the two step aside, the Council of Elders, no less, also made a similar call? Does it mean that all of that has been, shelved?
Well, something, I'll answer you. I wanted to do a quick...
want to go back?
Well, I wanted to just do a quick reaction, on a very important issue raised, that there are divisions in our party. My brother referred to a situation where if we don't take care, we may go back to 1979. I can assure him that it's not going to happen. And then for my brother, they are in government. And we know what's happening in Ivalujira, where DCs are being locked. Techiman South, it has happened. So it's not a matter of NPP, there's chaos. I'm not equalizing, but I'm trying to point out to him that they have a government. But even so, officers who are supposed to work in the interest of the state are being denied access to their offices. And it's happening by party people denying DCs access to their office. It's happening. Is it also a matter of failed leadership because the president has executive powers? He had the power to appoint these people, and it is happening. Is it that there is lawlessness at the level of the government where government cannot even control party people?
In Nanado's situation, in Nanado's case, because he didn't appoint those officers, that is an excuse. That's what you're saying.
I have not said so. I am trying to give you an example of a similar incident, because my brother makes a strong point that there's failed leadership because of what we're going through. And I'm saying that we have a situation where all the executives are elected. Nanado did not have the power to appoint them, to say that, look, you are misconducting yourself, so I fired you. They are all elected. Somebody 43%, somebody 51%, he himself 94%. So he's more or less like the primus inter pares of a group of persons with a mandate to work in the interest of the party. We consider there are challenges which, by God's grace, we would overcome. He's spoken. That is a finality. However, the fact that my brother brought in this issue of deep-seated divisions, I thought that it was just necessary to give an example of a situation where we have a government with executive power, with the power to appoint, yet party foot soldiers have taken over.
You are not denying the deep-seated divisions. That's what you're saying.
What I'm saying,
you're not
I've
denying
considered that we have challenges.
So can we move on? Nana has spoken.
So
and I have asked a question, a substantive question. All the calls for them to step down or step aside, have we just forgotten about them now?
Yeah, I'm coming to that. I
think you should go forward.
Very well.
Because if you don't do that, he would ask for an opportunity to also reply.
It doesn't really matter.
And you continue in this manner.
It doesn't matter. This is really a debate. Just to add, because we're talking about justice, that Bubulushi killings in 2009, we still have not heard any word. Perhaps they are doing something, but it's not in the public domain. I would urge government to be proactive. And if there is any prosecution, because for my information, those perpetrators were never arrested. If they have been, government should come out and let us know, so that we know that the justice system is there for everybody. Now back to your issue. Nanado spoke yesterday, and I believe that as a political leader, he demonstrated steady leadership in times of crisis. And whatever he put together for the consumption of all of us was done after broad consultation, listening to everybody, getting the input of the rank and file of the party, and coming out to say that, look, ceasefire. If you have any issue on any matter about anybody, follow due process. Use the channels that are enshrined in the constitution of the party to address your concerns. He has asked for National Council meeting, NEC meetings, to address all the concerns, because you see, in our party...
So the plan to remove those two has not been abandoned?
Samson, if you say there's a plan to remove anybody, it would have some mischief in it.
You have a difficulty in denying You know,
Well,
because
listen,
that is what it is.
Listen. You, as a journalist, would want to put it in a certain way. I am saying that the man has spoken. There is no such plan to remove.
How many
anybody.
regions of the party in the country have not voted to ask that they step aside? What did the parliamentary group say? What did the Council of Elders say? You have said yourself that the two are not being politically correct, that their position is no more tenable.
I said that they were not acting politically correct because of their conduct. And I gave an example where Mr. Japan will tell Evans Mensah that I'm eating fufu in Kumasi, then turn around to say on another station that I never said that. It is the creation of Gabi Ochedakun. And I thought that the mere fact that the flag bearer sat in that emergency meeting, politically, a mature general secretary should have given the flag bearer his due by not even coming publicly to talk about it. That I made that point. But we've moved past that. Where we are, I'm saying that the man has spoken. It would, to say that there are plans to remove them, and does that mean that that plan has been abandoned? I am saying that I disagree. If you put it in that context that there is a plan to remove them.
You disagree
However,
with my question?
I disagree with the context within which you situated your question. However, in the aftermath of Chairman Adams' death, all the brouhaha that ensued, various party members felt that because of the seeming tension between the chairman and the general secretary on one hand and the other national executives on the other hand and all that, in the interest of the party, they should step aside. Okay? Now, they have the mandate of the people to work as executives of the party. The flag bearer says that they must have unhindered access to their offices.
Correct.
They should continue to function as executives of the party.
Correct.
However, if anybody has any issue with them, please follow due process. Use the structures of the party to debate whatever concern you have.
There are those who say that he could have done a lot more better or completely resolved the issue if he had brought the two to the meeting yesterday.
You see, sometimes I try not to discuss in public when there are matters that are for internal consumption. But I can tell you, without giving you specifics, that the flag bearer informed the two leaders,
they don't deny
the chairman and the general secretary. And his wish was for them to join him. But that did not happen. And don't forget that when the flag bearer even arrived in Ghana to attend Chairman Adams' funeral, he invited the two. Immediately arrived in Ghana. He even invited them to his house, and for some reason they felt that they could not make it there. And they themselves elected a venue of their choice, which the flag bearer obliged them. So you see, you can see that the man would not want to take an entrenched position that I am the boss. If you know you will not come to me, go to hell. No. He still wants to lean towards them to build bridges. Okay. And I'm saying that on this occasion, if somebody says that the man could not bring them together, that would be most unfortunate to say so. He made the effort. If for whatever reason they could not come, and later I heard Mr. Afoko sending a text, but I've also heard this morning, because I was going to say that that was very disappointing and regrettable, but I'm told that he has denied that and now says that, look, he has accepted the call of the flag bearer. To me, that is very key. He has accepted the call of the flag bearer. It means that, one, Mr. Afoko is submitting himself to the authority of the flag bearer. Two, he's now acting politically correct. I have not heard from my general secretary. And we expect that as quickly as possible.
Your general secretary, I think his aide has spoken and says that the general secretary welcomes this particular step.
Well, this is not a time for
he welcomes it.
aides.
He welcomes it, and that he's committed to the peace building.
Well,
process.
if that is so, it's fine. You know, let's move on. At least now the next thing is to follow due process. We have primaries on the 10th of June. And I said on your own network that this seeming tension is even creating problems for we the MPs.
You've how many times you've called it seeming tension?
Yes, that's the best way to put it. Okay, it is eating us up even in Parliament. I am still worried.
They'll see me.
Yes, of course. Because politics is perception driven. It may not be real,
anyway,
but one the perception is
let me bring Koku.
I thought you would allow me.
Let me bring Koku in here.
I thought you would allow
don't
me.
Don't worry.
You let me.
Not everybody will speak as long as you have done.
Oh, very
because
well.
you are within the party, so I give you that opportunity. Now, Koku, before, in the course of the week, just too many actions that, it appears Nana Addo's statement is seeking to reverse. The letters that were issued in the name of Kwabena Japan saying that he had resigned. He came to say no. Now he's blaming some of the within the party that somebody would have done it because they used the party's letterhead and so on and so forth. You think that this call will end all of this? That's where I'm interested in, that the call will end everything?
Well, hopefully, and should. My candid opinion is in their collective interest that they end this, unfolding crisis.
It's a period when they have been hurt.
All sides have been hurt one way or the other. As I said earlier, this whole environment of mistrust and suspicions that have been driving this saga. So it's about time, as Nana said, the ceasefire and await the convening of a national executive, national council meetings to deal with the mischief. I think that's the best thing to happen. He's asked for insults, lies, intrigues, attacks and counter-attacks to stop. Some of them, as he said, should be roundly condemned. Those attacks on the integrity, the image of President Akufo, Addo, all those things, totally uncalled for. It's been going on for a while. It's about time it stops. And subsequent to this, they should name and shame, perhaps even suspend or possibly expel. The party is bigger than any of those individuals.
You expect that the NPP will expel Kennedy Japan?
I'm saying, I didn't want to personalize things.
No, but he's the one who made those comments.
Yeah, but he's not the only one who is out there. He's not the only one who is out. Yes, in the specific case of the attack on the integrity of President Akufo and Addo, yes, it came from him. But you see, I outlined some series of sanctions. Reprimand, suspend, expel. I didn't choose one. It's up to them to go by their constitution and processes and procedures. They have the grievances and disciplinary procedures. So I'm not about to give an antidote relative to one particular person or an instant of the insult and lies. But it's important. Look, and I've said this over and over again, the regional chairmen and the initiative they put in place, which appears to have gathered momentum and attracted support from the minority caucus and all those things. From day one, I said those things should stop. And I hope it will stop with this. Of course, since they have articulated their position, I'm sure the National Council and the National Executive Committee will be seized with those issues. My advice is that the party should not be proceeding towards exclusion of the two gentlemen, the chairman and the general secretary. Look, I advocate the policy of containment. and progressive neutralization of whatever mischief they perceive. 6 months to the end of the year. The following year is an election year. Going through that rigorous process, now it is not Article 10 they are activating, it's clear in my mind. But it could lead there. It could lead there. Depending on how all sides.
Article 10 is removal. But for now, they say it is only an appeal that they should resign.
Yes, but it could lead there, depending on how the two gentlemen also box themselves into the situation. As I speak, I've picked up that in spite of the flag bearers' direction, there are some people out there in the field still collecting signatures. You collect signatures in order to activate Article 10. So there's a parallel thing happening. The flag bearer must get the appropriate intelligence and ask them to cease fire on that level.
Is that the reason the two guys who are running around the country to stop?
It's important. Look, it's in the enlightened self-interest of the party that it does not create distractions. If the two gentlemen decide to resist the policy of exclusion and possible exit, it will be dirty and crude, and it will take too long. And the party will not then be poised for 2016.
I'm sure you have heard Kobna Japan. He says he will not never be removed.
I thought Kobna,
that this is evil that is going on and that good would triumph over evil.
No, he could be removed through constitutional means.
He said,
it will be protracted.
Said his words, try it, it will not work.
Yes, he was bluffing. But you see, it will be a protracted process. And I'm saying that collectively it's not in the party's interest. So contain them. Neutralize them if you think they are obstacles. I don't see how Kobna and Afuku would not want the party to win an election. Maybe their actions are not helpful in terms of accelerating a certain critical mass. But I cannot imagine, wouldn't they prefer that their party is in power post-2016 rather than remain in opposition? Because see, I find it difficult to think on those lines. But the point is this. When the campaign starts and is launched, I cannot imagine the chairman and the general secretary being able to destabilize the train. The two of them, the balance of forces, the alignment of forces, the train has taken off, the campaign is out there. I cannot imagine.
If they are going to control the purse.
Who says they will control the purse? That's a lie. No, let me tell you, it's not true.
Because he just said a while ago about the fight over who controls the purse.
Look, campaign funds, campaign account is distinct from party account. And it's been the practice in the party. And it's not going to change.
Well,
take it from me, it is not going to change. They have no capacity to change it. It is not going to change. It's never done anywhere. See, let me give you this point. 1996, when after the elections, you know, there was this thing they call Concordia Ventures Affair and all those things. Colonel Samuel wrote a letter asking for the interdiction of the General Secretary then, Ajini Mboating, and the suspension of Mr. Akufo as a member. He had been the presidential candidate. And also, I have all those letters here. Boakye Addo, who was then the deputy coordinator for the North American branch, also brought in his letter. It's all here. We interviewed President Akufo, then ex-presidential candidate. Listen to what he said. On this account, question of he having opened a separate account for the campaign as distinct from the party account. This is my paper, then the Crusading Guide, 16 July 1998. And the funds, this is Akufo, funds were to go into separate account, Akufo. This story was filed by Peter Atiemo. Mr. Akufo, when he denied that, he said, the NPP stalwart, that's Mr. Akufo, asked, why put campaign money into regular party account? I repeat, why put campaign money into regular party account? He explained that the agreement to open a campaign account was to distinguish it from the regular account. The regular account could be in a red, and that could hamper the electionary campaign. The account he intimated was opened with a covering letter written by the party's general secretary, Mr. J. Ajini Mboating. The party will be aware of the campaign account. the party would be entitled to account processes being delivered to it. But the campaign account is distinct from the party account.
So what you're saying confirms what is happening now in regard to what Prudential Bank is demanding from the party.
That thing is nothing. It's a storm in a teacup, and those in the party know it. All those who know party, the practice that has gone, they know it. 2008, that account was created there in the same bank, distinct from the party account. Hackman and Ofori-Atta were in charge. Hackman was chairman of the campaign fundraising campaign. It's a fundraising account for the campaign. 2012, it became Ken Ofori-Atta and Opombio. They know it. Indeed, part of the balance in the Forex account there was what was used for the October primaries under the chairmanship of Afoko and Kobre Japan.
So if it is really the case that Kobre Japan's team is against the party taking on that debt or liability,
as Kobre told me
that's what has been out there in the public domain. That is part of the reason for all of these debates.
Those who were doing that were not helping the cause of Kobre and Afoko. They threw in that thing somewhere. I would never have no evidence that Kobre and Afoko were part of it. And in fact, it's unfair even to speculate. But those who were championing their cause on social media and elsewhere created that impression. And I said this is detrimental to the cause of Afoko and Kobre. They were not doing them any favors. And I'm saying it's well documented.
Right.
See, let me tell you the effect of that leakage and the publicity surrounding it. First of all, it creates problems, confidence, crisis for the party dealing with that bank. Two, the businessmen who are mentioned in there, you are overexposing them. You are creating problems for the party in terms of its campaign finances. First of all, there's nothing illegal about this. They went straight to a bank, we all know, but there are still people. Banks like to keep their confidentiality intact. Businessmen who you drag into helping you to raise campaign like to keep themselves at the background. So if in the course of internal party crisis, this is thrown out there, don't forget, it's going to be difficult for you to get banks as well as businessmen to come on board for similar practices.
Well, one of the signatories suggests that it is his debt and that he's going to take it on, isn't it?
It is. It is not true. It is not true that the party headquarters was used as a collateral. That's a lie. Meanwhile, there was one of the gentlemen who is campaigning for the exit of the flag bearer, the resignation, who said so. It's a lie. There's no truth in that. The party was aware because its campaign, presidential campaign fund that you are raising. So invariably there's a link to the party. But the guarantee was offered by the individual. Okay. Now a bank, when he's seeking to collect, to redeem his debt, the bank will want to cast the net wider. So the bank writes the letter, you can understand that, to try and get the party also on board. So to pressurize and in order to get its money.
When the party defaults, then it will fall on the...
Yes, the guarantee.
You become the primary obligator.
So this is a storm in a teacup. Mischief thrown out there.
Stresses the cup. Okay. All right. You had already spoken about their finances also being a bit of a problem. This 1.5 million Ghana cedis, which now we understand translates, because of the interest, translates into 2 million, which is a debt that has become a problem. What do you know about that one too?
Oh, well, I mean, we know a bit about it because I'm familiar with
it was an overdraft.
At the bank.
Yes, an overdraft facility.
There's even a copy. In fact, the letter was directed to the chairman, stroke director, MPP, election 2012 fundraising committee,
right?
Salandown, Ken Ofori-Atta, and Kelly Gajipo.
Right.
The party itself was not mentioned here. At least
it was copied
from this letter. I mean, if you've been dealing with banks, if the guarantor or the security is credible or is enough to pay off, you don't even approach the principal, the person who collected the loan.
It is done. You can even just sue the guarantor and realize whatever he used as security. If it's his share somewhere or his own property, you just go straight away and then you realize it. So I was surprised that this matter came out the way it did. Because, as Koku said, one thing that a bank will not do is to unreasonably disclose or illegally disclose any information in their custody in relation to a customer. In fact, the fiduciary relationship...
It was addressed to Ken Ofori-Atta, and this is what he has to say when he wrote back. I'm just reading a portion of what his release. He says the facility was taken to complement the resources we had raised to support the operations of our polling station agents. The party leadership at the time was fully aware of it and grateful. The disbursement of these funds was supervised by and transfers executed by the campaign manager. This was to supplement the entire polling station operation on election day, that's the D-Day, including logistics, feeding, and stipends. It must be noted that this amount was not the total amount spent on the D-Day operations. I would urge the supporters of the NPP and the entire public to disregard the mischief that the leakage of this letter and those behind it, it seek to create. Our party has always been proud to fund itself by contributions and sacrifices of its members. This loan was guaranteed privately, and the party therefore is not directly liable to it.
Yes, and I can confirm that this letter was never leaked by the bank. That one I can confirm. And so, when it turns out, as Koku said, I mean, people are going to be more cautious in the way they will even support such, not just MPP alone, because they don't know when another party too will use some other schemes to disclose these things.
Sure. Okay.
But the other thing, I mean, if you look at the Political Parties Act, Section 21,
right,
dealing with accounts and all that, that any person may, on payment of a fee determined by the Commission, inspect or obtain copies of the returns and audited accounts of a political party filed with the Commission under this section. So my difficulty is that these monies which are declared campaign monies, are they not part of the monies that have been paid to the political party? And if they are part, then the appropriate accounts must reflect it.
I agree.
Okay?
In principle,
yes.
you're right.
So it is important. That's why I say.
Did you hear that? He says in principle, you're right.
Of course, in principle means in law.
He
also means in law.
But something, I want to understand it properly. If you guarantee a facility, upon application, you are asking for the money for the benefit of a third party in this particular instance.
That's correct.
To me, I would have a difficulty linking same. Maybe when we go to a bank for a facility, we want to disclose the purpose for procuring that loan. So if I write, say, I, Alex Markin, I'm applying for a loan of this amount, the purpose to support the campaign activities of MPP. I have a problem it becoming a party
liability.
Well, in this particular case, I think that where there is a guarantee, it means that that person is not the principal person to whom it was granted. Just let me read to you.
No, but we don't know whether the facility was procured.
Let me read to you. Let me answer your question by reading to you the content of the letter. Yeah. We refer to our letter dated 5th January 2015, in which we requested you to arrange and pay off the overdraft facility of 1.5 million granted the new patriotic party.
Yeah, but the party was the beneficiary.
Yes, so it was the party that was granted, and somebody else.
But the request went to Ken Ofori-Atta.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's
now let me bring Felix in here. Nana Addo is very clear in his mind what should happen, and among others, he says, now that many sections of the party have spoken and made their appeals, the party structure should take over and deal with the issues that have been raised. Meetings of the National Executive Committee, the body charged with responsibility for directing the affairs of the party, and then the National Council, the highest decision-making body of the party, except for the National Annual Delegates Conference, should be convened after the Adua prayers to resolve the issues that we face. I am confident that these bodies will act in the collective interest of the party.
Well, Samson, this is too little, too late. It is like closing the stables after the horses have bolted. Because the events of the last 2-3 weeks, and in fact, the events of the last year, since this new executive came into office, have been profoundly damaging for the MPP brand. Their image has been severely tarnished. I don't think that they will be the party of choice for many people because of these events. Absolutely. Absolutely. No, listen, people, it is also predictable that you will defend the MPP. They are your friends. You've said so publicly. But there can be no kidding about the fact that the incidents that have happened in the last few months are not desirable. And anybody looking...
The party itself acknowledges that.
But absolutely. But Samson, what Nana-Addo did yesterday, in fact, highlights the point that I made earlier on, that there has been a spectacular leadership failure. What did he do yesterday? He spoke as the de facto leader of the MPP. He has had every opportunity since these agitations and incidents started happening in the party to stamp his authority in the manner that he sought to do yesterday. Oh, but you see, flag bearers are not props that are taken to elections. And indeed, most of the people involved in this melee are people that Nana-Addo has considerable influence over, at least those who support him.
But it's not a constitutional despot.
I agree. No, but
okay, listen. Okay. Enough of the interjections. Let's hear him. Yeah.
When these incidents started, if I'm not mistaken, the first shot came when the Afoko regime tried to make some changes at the headquarters. People like Mr. Opari Hammond, who was finance director, if I'm mistaken, you can correct me, were removed. Peyo Kujeto and the likes were removed. Then there was an attempt to change the security arrangements at the headquarters. It resulted in a scuffle. Then on August 19th, party youth stormed the headquarters with a view to attacking the two because they were holding a press conference to clarify some of the issues that had come up.
That's not a fair picture.
No, it is an accurate picture.
No?
We have had instances where over the last year, there have been at least 5 clashes involving top members of the MPP. These are not just irate youth misbehaving in some constituency or branch. The headquarters of the party has become the scene of clashes requiring prompt police intervention. I am saying that if Nana-Addo was minded to stop these things and nip them in the bud, he would have acted long ago.
You would not know what meetings.
But Nana-Addo, but Samson, it is obvious. Samson, it is obvious. It is obvious that all those things that he did failed. All those things that he did failed. Such that last week or last 2 weeks, we witnessed the death of a party chairman.
You just said too little, too late.
Absolutely, but I'm saying that.
And I'm pointing to instances where he has intervened.
If Nana-Addo as leader, or if like de facto, because they say it's not in their constitution, maybe they may want to take a cue and regularize that position.
You can't give him despotic powers.
No, but there's nothing despotic about calling people to order. When you hear that regional chairmen have started a process that is clearly inimical to the interests of the party, nothing stops you to prevail upon them to move away from that course of action. Nothing stops you. If in fact, as leader of the party or as flag bearer of the party, you do not have such influence that you can stop party chairman from acting in a certain way, then there's a serious problem.
Exercising their legitimate rights.
But what they are doing is inimical to the interests of the party. And Nana-Addo as flag bearer will become president if he succeeds in leading the party to elections. So it is his election to lose. You understand the point I'm making? If people are acting in ways that undermine your chances, because forget it, there's no way that you can go to elections with a fragmented front and win. And in fact, the MPP more than any other party must be wary of this. In 1979, the PFP-UNC divide cost them an election. So if your political tradition has lost elections because of similar divisions, and you sit aloof for petty squabbles to degenerate into an instance where murder occurs, then there's a difficulty. So I'm saying that what he did yesterday is too little, too late. The brand has been tarnished. There's even no guarantee that what he even did yesterday will lead to an immediate resolution of the problem. Because no sooner has he finished. No, it's not by a wish. We have beaten the MPP when they have been strong. You see, we have beaten the MPP when they have been strong. But I think that the party and Nana-Addo are subject to justifiable criticism if they conduct themselves in a way that is not satisfactory. There's no indication that what he did yesterday would even result to result into
Okay.
an immediate result. Why?
Right.
No sooner had he finished than a wrench gets thrown in the mix. The party chairman gave indication that he was either unaware or had not been invited to the event. He sent a text message
So he said
to a radio station.
The message
But
said
what
that
was the purpose of
he
that
had
message?
been informed.
But what was the purpose?
There were
of that
questions
message?
about whether or not he had been invited.
Something.
And he said,
Something.
I had been informed.
Something. If the flag bearer of a party, in the midst of this whole confusion, is going to hold an event like this, and the party chairman and general secretary are seen flanking him, the sort of vibe
You know what?
that is sense.
Listen,
No.
It's unrealistic.
No.
Consider- no, let me tell you
Then
why.
the problem is
You
much
see, let me
deeper
tell you
than
why.
what you would have us believe.
Yeah, there's a problem.
The problem,
Nobody's
exactly. So
denying
admit that there's a problem.
The flag bearer himself said there are issues that have been raised, transferred these issues to the appropriate structural committees in the party. Problems? Yes. Nobody denies.
But before
let me
that,
tell
he
you, let me
mentioned...
tell you why.
Okay, go ahead.
Why I think, and I'm not talking about Felix as a person,
Right.
but I think
Let's do it quickly. I want to take
it's
a break.
it's some naivety to assume that within the present environment, which had necessitated that press conference by the flag bearer, even information to the general secretary and the chairman would have brought them there. No, it's unrealistic. I would have advised the chairman and the general secretary not to attend now. Even the other point, it's like they didn't go to Bolga. It's clear. It's being sensible and realistic.
Okay.
Now, my last point. Oh, please.
Okay, all right. Then I'll land. Yeah.
You do me that favor.
No problem. No problem. Go ahead.
The last one, the point that they should have access to the office.
Right.
Good. More authority should be brought to bear on it. But I tell you, it's going to take a little bit more time. I've done my own checks.
The invisible security has had problems with invisible forces.
But is it?
Has still
But
had
listen,
problems with
but
Afoko
therein
supporters at the
lies
place.
a major
But
problem.
we're talking of human management.
Is
We're
it?
talking of
That,
management.
something. Therein lies. How is it possible?
Just hold on 1 minute.
Just, something. Let me
wait.
Kweku took the winner of
Alex,
this.
no, just
Let me
Alex.
land.
True. I wasn't
Felix makes a point.
Let me land,
I
and
want
then
to
he
take a
comes
break
in.
here, but Felix
Okay.
makes a point. He says that too little, too late. Nana waited for just too long, and that he has influence over and almost everybody who is involved.
He should, as flag bearer.
He sat down, waited for Kwame Pieni, waited for Samuel Kujeto, waited for Samson Kweku Boafo, and all the other Joe Gate and everybody else to come in to seek to douse the flames.
But
before
that's
he
not a
came
fair
in.
account. There have been interventions he made earlier.
But those interventions failed.
Sorry, I put everything to
And
Alex.
it worsens the situation,
sorry.
actually.
Nana Addo is a leader who listens. He wouldn't want to just come out to say anything anyhow. I
His house
indicated,
is on fire.
well, you don't just go out there, you engage people in closet and use certain individuals. Who knows? Those individuals, did you listen to Mr. Kwame Pinim very well? He said that he had engaged the flag bearer and he was aware at the time he was talking on City that the flag bearer had engaged some people to bring these things down. The flag bearer upon arrival had personally called the chairman and the general secretary of the party. Please, ask for Felix. You see, and if he tries to make these submissions to as we know him to be doing all the time, attacking, zero in on
Please, I think that
then
is
we get compelled.
that is an unfortunate
No,
fact.
we
Listen,
get compelled.
Your flag bearer
Hold
is
on.
subject to criticism
Oh,
like
no
any
problem,
other
no
person in the
problem,
public
no
believes.
problem at all,
He can
no
be criticized,
problem.
especially on the
I
subject. So
agree,
why is this
but
attack?
it is a
Have I
concern.
attacked you?
Just
It is
I
a
never attacked
answer my
You
question.
see,
I have only criticized his leadership.
this
What
is
is
what is
legitimate?
happening in
It is
MPP.
legitimate.
It's not new.
Unpredictable.
It is not new. If he wants us not to
that is
equalize,
criticizable, you'll be
but to
criticized.
give him an example that
Yeah,
in
you are
2006, the man is late, but for the purposes of political history, let me make it that the man was well seated right there when Dr. Obed Asamoah was being prevented from going out.
Who prevented him?
When
Who prevented you from going
when
out?
you
And if you think that
this
you are
lady,
going
their
to
women organizer, was being
swept,
attacked, did we?
that was condemned. It was even condemned by government.
Atamos never.
It was
Atamos never
It
issued
was
a
condemned.
statement to even
Government even
condemn
condemned
that
it.
attack.
It was condemned.
So
Your point
and
is
to-
made.
so-
Your point is
don't-
made.
don't
Thank you.
Try
Thank you.
to
Thank you.
come
Thank
and
you.
too
Thank you,
little,
Alex.
too
Alex,
late.
your point is
You
made.
really have
Thank
nothing
you.
to
Your
say.
point is made.
Let me-
Your
the
point is
man
made.
has
You see,
called
your point
on
is
party-
made.
Something-
Your point is made.
Something,
Thank you.
something,
Thank
even
you.
to the extent that as we speak, a private militia. They call them a private security, but I don't know that they are.
Please, that is never correct.
Oh, please.
You see, they have this mischief that
let me make my point.
They disrupted. It's not.
Please.
Let me correct.
It's not proper. What you are doing is not proper. As we speak, there is a group calling itself Invisible Forces. They have been described as a private security group, but I am unaware that they are registered as such. So they are a group aligned to the party who have taken it upon themselves to man party installations and provide security.
In the last 10 years or so.
But I thought that if you needed security, you would actually rely on existing structures. But never mind. But this group arrogates to itself the authority to take control of the headquarters and insist that the party chairman and general secretary, who have offices in that edifice, should not come there.
They were wrong.
And the flag bearer sits down for 1 whole week for that to persist. Then you come to the headquarters. Mind you, in the week, is it Wednesday or Thursday, he paid a visit to the headquarters. What stopped him from immediately pronouncing on that?
But do you know what he told them?
Thank you, gentlemen. Now, I'll just read the very last paragraph that Nana had to give, and then we'll move on. I'll take a break, we'll return, and then we'll quickly look at the rest of the issues and move on. He said that, let me end with a word from Holy Scripture, and pardon me that I take the liberty of amending it slightly to make my point. Psalm 122, verses 6 to 8. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for the peace of the NPP. Pray for the peace of Ghana. May they prosper who love you. Peace be within our walls. Peace be within our homes and offices. Prosperity within our country and our communities. For the sake of my brethren and companions, for the sake of my colleagues in the NPP and in our country, I will now say, peace be within us. God bless the NPP. God bless Ghana. God bless Africa. I understand there's a fasting and prayer meeting that Utiku Ajaba is going to lead from this week, is it?
It's rather bizarre.
That's correct, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, if you fail to take the ashes, you need to take.
Okay.
And you resort to fasting.
Certainly, the party needs the prayers at this time more than ever.
They need leadership.
We'll go for a break. We'll return shortly. You're welcome back to Newsfile. This is your most authoritative news analysis show. And good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on the line, Mr. Hakman Usajman. Hello, Mr. Usajman.
Good morning. Line not a bit faint, yes.
Thank you. I
can hear me.
I can hear you very clearly now. So, Hakman Usajman is former MP for New Jabing North. And he had a lot to do with the NPP's finances, and he wants to make a contribution to the finance structure, as Kukubaku spoke about. Which aspects specifically would you like to assist us to understand?
Yes, if I've understood you well, let me prefix my comments by saying that I am the longest serving National Treasurer, the longest serving chairman of the Finance Committee, and the longest serving chairman of the Fundraising Committee. What was done by Akufo-Addo's committee, who took over from my committee, was perfectly in order. We have done this several times before. And indeed, because we are close with the authority of being the Fundraising Committee, we are automatically allowed to borrow funds and look for funds and eventually amortize them. I can even cite the latest example. When we were going to Tamale, I was chairman of the Fundraising Committee. We borrowed money before, took some money, then we raised money, and when we finished the conference, we had 145,000 CDs left, and we had to give that to help with the primary that we did for the presidential. And the one that was led from Akufo-Addo's group was also used to assist. So what I'm trying to say, I want to agree with Mr. Kwekubako that it's out of mischief that people are saying these things. When we do these things, it's for and on behalf of the party. In this instance, Kenny has been gracious enough to say that he will pay back the sum. We are grateful to him. But I want to make it absolutely clear. Since 1992, for over 10 years, I was National Treasurer and I had all these other accolades. We always did that, and we found ways subsequently of collecting funds and donations from friends to pay for whatever liabilities we might have to individuals, and sometimes to banks, and sometimes to even some of these Shylock organizations. So I don't see what the point is. I just want to make it clear that there was nothing untoward about that loan, and that whether they were officers or not, they were clothed with the authority of the fundraising committee, which was for and on behalf of the party. And I thought I should make that clear and support my good friend Akuffo Addo that he was speaking from facts. And as I said, there's nobody in this party who has served on these three positions longer than I have.
Okay, thank you.
A decade in each instance.
Thank you very much. That is sufficient clarity that you've brought to this particular subject. Thank you very much for your time. Hackman Owusu Agyemang, former MP for New Jabing North.